What's up? Welcome back to Table of Entrepreneurs, man. Today we got another guest on the show. We kind of had a pre-interview prior to this, and I told her I was going to do it. So, welcome to the show. One of our dear friends, Aaliyah McLean, who is also the queen of resin. So if you don't mind, please tell people a little bit about yourself.
My name is Aaliyah McLean, previously known as Aaliyah Dove. I'm a mom of 3. I am a wife. I'm a Marine vet. And I started a business doing resin. I make resin products, and everything resin is really what I do.
Yeah, all handmade. Listen, y'all, like when I say she is the queen of resin, like I don't just say that just to be talking. Like I'm gonna go ahead and put her contact information in the description below. Please make sure y'all go by. Like if you don't go check out her website, you don't go check out her products, you are missing out. Speaking of missing out, let's go ahead and let me ask that question. So like, what are your views for your business? Like, what is it that you're trying to gain or to accomplish?
So working as an entrepreneur and have a business, first thing that is important to me is to work with my people, reach out to my people, make contact with people who can help me better my business. Like the woman that created my logo was Black. The person that made all my business cards was Black. Like I purposely tried to reach out to other people in my community. And a lot of times it happened to be other Black women. So I really just want to make sure that I'm reaching back out to my community so that I'm getting business, they're getting business, we all making money at the same time. And for me, creating things for my business means a lot for me. You know, it means that I'm mentally stable a lot of the times, and that I'm creating things that not only give me joy and happiness to be making, but that I'm giving that to other people, that I'm creating pieces that you can buy for yourself or you can buy for a friend, something that can be so customized to when they receive it, they're like, you really took the time out to pick something like that for me. And it just makes them feel special, like you thought of them, like you really put the effort into saying, hey, I know that she likes this, I know that she likes that, a little bit of glitter here, a little bit of color blue here because that's her favorite, and I just want them to feel warm and just happy about what they received. And that is just one of the things that makes me feel like what I'm doing is gonna be a big thing, because customizing pieces is something that anybody can do it, but you know, can you do it well? And when you can do it well, it just really makes everything worth it. All the replies, all the special requests, all the, you know, new orders, like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? It just makes you feel great. But the feeling of giving somebody something that really made them feel special, that's the thing that I want to carry on in my business, no matter how big it gets.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, and like, it's really interesting that like as an entrepreneur, obviously as a person in, you know, the creative business, but like it sounds like one of your main focus is actually for you to create something of value for other people, more so than just like collecting a big sum of money, right? Obviously we know that money come along with business and everything like that, but like, so for y'all that are listening, all right, let's pause on that. And like I want y'all to go back and rewind that portion of what she just said, right? That's very important to understand that, because like not only is she making this stuff by hand, right? I know in a previous video, I did an interview with my wife, same thing, making things by hand. And like, there's a whole nother level of skill when you find an entrepreneur who are able to craft magic solely with their mind and with their hands, right? And she's able to do that. That's why I call her the queen of resin. If you don't know, resin ain't that simple. It is not. It ain't. What is some of your inspirations? Like, what is the idea of you getting into resin? Where does that come from?
So, originally hearing about resin from my friends, it was like, oh, that looks fun. It looks like I could do it,
Yeah.
But then when I got into it, it was like, oh man, this is hard. Like, this is hard. Resin is intimidating. Like, it makes you feel like if you can't get this right, then you might as well just quit. Like, it will make you feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
But for me, it's the fight in it. It's the not giving up in me that continue to make me do it.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah, it's very complicated to work with. But once you get the hang of it, it's like you can't stop. Like, it's fun. It's fun to do. It's demolding products. You just like, oh my God, that's so satisfying. Just like seeing it come out so perfectly. You're just like, bro, why have I ever done anything else? Like, I should have been doing this.
You finally find that passion.
Yes.
So Emma, what you were saying, like, I want to ask you, like, so what's the average time per piece? I know that depends on like the size of the piece, like the in-depthness of the piece, but what's the average time?
So I was telling you that I made a chess set, and something like that with large 3D chess pieces can take like a week. I'm already on like day 4, and I'm still not finished with the set because a chess board comes with multiple pieces. So with the pieces being 3D and not just like 2 half pieces glued together, it takes a lot of skill. It's a lot of messing up that you have to do. It's a lot of redoing pieces, taking your time instead of rushing. That is the number one thing that I keep telling myself, that as long as I continue to take my time and not focus on anything else but that piece, I will continue to make perfect things. Because when I start rushing and trying to do multiple projects at a time, it feels more of an assembly line, and it takes out of what I'm feeling in making that product. Because when I make something, I want to think about it. I want to think about what this person is going to feel when they get it. I want to think about all of that when I'm making it. So when I can't put that time in, it always never turns out right. There's always a bubble or a hole or a crack or something. So I take my time to make them. And sometimes that can take a week, 2 weeks, depending on how big it is. Certain things like a keychain, that's a quick thing. I can get that out, next day. But most resin typically takes 24 to 48 hours to properly cure. And so when I make the product, I give it a day, I come back, I take it out the mold. If it's still a little, wobbly, not sturdy, I'll keep it for another day or 2 to make sure that it's in the condition it's supposed to be in before I send it out. So for the most part, work time, we're talking about maybe 30 to 60 minutes per piece. Because even after you've poured it and it started to cure a little, you still have to watch it. You have to, there's certain things like a chessboard. You have all these squares, and then you have to put a different color in each square while carefully making sure that the colors don't mix.
Oh, wow.
And with resin being a self-leveling product, it's something that will flatten out and it will mix. If you put it there and walk away, you will come back and you'll be like, oh my God, I should have just sat here and watched it. So you literally have to sit for like an hour and watch it, and make sure that it's curing in the places that it needs to cure. It takes a lot of time. And for somebody like me with 3 kids, like, it's a lot. And I have to give a lot of that to my husband because he, takes the kids. I come in this room and I will be in here for hours. He'll be like, you going in your room today? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be in there for a couple hours today. He'd be like, all right, I got the kids. That teamwork, I really feel like helps me do what I need to do. It helps me come in here and make things and not worry about what's outside the door.
Right.
like I open my windows, I get my mask on, I get my music blasted, and I'm just like, I'm in here creating and I'm not being bothered. Ain't nobody knocking on the door, ain't nobody busting in.
Yeah.
It's none of that happening. And because of him, I feel like I have even more support to just create. It's almost like a little bit of pressure. Like, all right, now you in here for a long time making stuff. You better be coming up with some good stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just gives me a little more push to do more, to be better, honestly.
So let me ask you that, right? Because if it's taking you a week, let's say we'll round it to a week, depending on the size of the piece, but if it's taking you a week or longer to create this masterpiece, right? With resin, like if y'all don't know what resin is, please go watch a YouTube video and look at like resin, right? Because there's some type of formula in which you got to mix it. And so you want to talk about it actually before we move forward? Like, what's the process of mixing resin?
Really quick. So I won't show a product because we pay people, but it's like a half a gallon jug of a part of what I use to mix. It comes in 2 different parts. This is the other part. It's a slightly different color, but you mix those things in a container. Some people use silicone cups, some people use plastic. I prefer silicone because it's cheaper, reusable, all those good things, saving the earth without using all that plastic. You mix equal parts together and you put a colorant in it, or you cannot put a colorant. You could put flowers, whatever it is that you're trying to put in it, things like this, like gold flakes. You can put in it, anything you can think of, you can make out of resin. I'm talking shot glasses, cups, plates, jewelry, games, like anything that you can think of. As long as they have silicone molds in this world, you can make it. So you pretty much take the resin, you pour it into whatever silicone mold of your choice, and then you let it cure. It sounds simple, but there's so many steps, that goes into it. Things like making sure you're mixing it for the perfect amount of time. Because if it doesn't mix properly, it will never cure. And you'll just have this sticky mess in your molds forever. You end up throwing them away or, trying somehow to get it out.
Yeah.
So it's, for the most part, that's what it is. You mix one part and one part together. You add a colorant, maybe glitter, mica powder, alcohol, ink, whatever it is that you prefer to use. And then you pour it in your mold and you watch it to make sure it's not, overflowing. You have to pop bubbles out. There's like air bubbles that sometimes can be super small, microscopic bubbles. And it's a lot of, trying to get them out with a heat gun or, using alcohol. There's so many tricks out there to get the bubbles out of the products. But that is probably like the hardest part.
Now, talking about how difficult that is as a process, right? And all these steps that you have to take. How do you come up with pricing for something like that?
Oh man. So originally purchasing everything that I needed to purchase to get started. So I needed resin, I needed molds, I needed gloves, I needed a space, I needed tables, like all of these things. So once you purchase everything that you need, and you're starting to make these things, you have to make sure that you are designating a certain amount of time for it. You have to designate a certain space. It's so much that goes into it. It's like, when you first think about it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna just make some resin. It's just simple. Like, I'm just pour this resin into this mold and that's it.
Yeah.
But you don't think about over time dealing with chemicals like this, it can cause like a skin rash. It can cause, if you're not using it properly, it can get into your lungs. Like all of these things are like stuff that people don't talk about in YouTube videos. Right. Like you have to look this stuff up, and so it's just a lot of little small things that go into it. Like make sure you're protecting yourself, making sure that, you're in a ventilated area, you have on a mask, that you're not touching stuff with your bare hands, you're you're using
Yeah.
gloves. It's just all of those in itself can take sometimes, a lot of the time just getting
Mm.
set up. I take like some time getting set up to even start to pour the
Yeah.
product.
So once you have all of that stuff done, right? And I know you're really meticulous, right? But once you have
Mhm.
all of that stuff done, you finally have something that you'd like, something that you think you're comfortable to put up, something you ain't gonna trash, right? Because I know you don't went through a couple of
Right.
batches already. But how do you determine a
Mhm.
price at what you're gonna sell that for, or what you're gonna charge for that? Where does that formula come from?
So what I did was, I used Etsy as a measuring tool for me. I went on to Etsy and I saw what other people were making. I saw what they were charging for it. And instead of going the route where I am charging the lowest of everybody and I'm getting all the customers, I chose to um make my price point a little higher because I knew that my work was worth it, and I knew that I was worth it. Like all the time that I'm spending, energy, money, tears,
Yeah,
sweat, all of that
yeah,
that I'm investing in this, um I wanted to be worth something. So I went on Etsy and I would take the pricing of people who were charging the highest and the lowest. I took like 5 good pricing that I could find, and I pretty much did the median of that. Um, if it was something small, I would make sure that I'm calculating in everything that I purchased, dividing that by, however many pieces that I think I was going to make,
mm,
kind of doing it in threes, adding what I felt like was my time to the price. And then that was it.
mm,
So it's just labor, plus plus products. I figure out how much it costs for me to make each product. I add what I felt like my time was worth, and then that's what I charge.
mm.
And if I'm uncomfortable with that, I'll go on Etsy and I'll say, oh, okay, well, they charge this, and that. And my price is, somewhere in the middle or maybe somewhere to the high.
Yeah,
And I'm okay with that. It makes me feel better. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, that's too much. So
yeah,
when I see that, it's like, well, some people charging high, some people charging low. Either I'm
yeah.
going to be on the high end or the low end.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. And like what you're saying is like very important for a lot of entrepreneurs out there to understand. It's like you got to know your value, right? Because sometimes getting into
Mhm.
business is like, well, I don't know if I could charge this much. I don't know if people are gonna like it. I don't know, And we kind of talked a little bit earlier about criticism, right? So would you want to touch bases on that? Because sometimes criticism in the business can be extremely difficult.
Yeah. Like I was saying, working with resin is very intimidating and it's vulnerable sometimes because you're creating these pieces of art and you're putting them out into the world for people to judge, purchase,
Mm,
whatever so may be they're going to do with it. Um, and that can be daunting.
mm,
Like that whole process in itself, because if you're somebody like me who don't care to be vulnerable,
yeah,
something like that can really mess with you mentally. But for me, I just had to just stick my foot out there and just be like, look, either they gonna like it or they not, and that's just it. Like I ain't never been somebody who can't take a no.
yeah, yeah,
All you can say is no. Like that's literally the worst that can happen is
right.
they say no or they don't purchase. Like, okay, they're not the last person in the world. Somebody gonna like it and somebody gonna buy it.
Mm,
You just have to stick to your guns and you got to tell yourself that, hey, you did the math. You did the math on how much it costs you to produce this and you did the math on what your time was, and that is valuable. So you have to add that into your price, and when you come up with that price you have to stick to it. Like, it's nothing wrong with a sale, here and there to boost sales, but you have to be confident in your pricing and what your time and your energy was worth, because that is the most important part. And you're going to sleep better when you do it, because if you put a price out there and you don't believe in it, as soon as too many people tell you, oh, it's too high, you're going to be quick to be like, oh, let me just take it back. Let me just, let me take $10 off. Let me, I'm not doing that, because I know with the time that I'm putting into it, resin is a very expensive product to work with. Like, we're talking about a good bit of money just for 1 gallon of resin. Like, it's expensive. Anybody can look it up. Like, we're talking like $100, $220 for a gallon of resin. That's a big deal, because the higher in price this product gets, it's like I may have to raise my prices depending on if this stuff goes up. But working with products that are not something that you can just buy from the dollar store, like that is, or you can go get from Walmart, because even Walmart doesn't sell resin in bulk like I need it. So,
speaking
those
of that,
things are.
when you talk about different prices, like for y'all that don't know, who are watching this channel right now, is resin, depending on the price you pay, gives you different clarities, different strengths, and all those other things. So like, what she's saying is, like, when she going out and she paying hundreds of dollars for a gallon, like, if you go get yourself a gallon of water, right? Look at that. Imagine yourself paying $100 and something for that, right? For 1 gallon. And she's buying this stuff in bulk. So when you want to kind of understand where the prices are coming from and understand the value of time, like, that's what she's coming from, right? And that's the thing about Table of Entrepreneurs, man. We want to get y'all behind the scenes and kind of like chop it up with these entrepreneurs and keep it 100% authentic. Like she said, man, that's hours, like weeks, days, so much time that goes into creating one thing. And like she said, if that isn't, like, if it don't pass our inspection, then out it go. And then that process repeats. Right. So it is extremely difficult working with resin. There's so many things that you got to focus on. Something you talked about a little bit earlier, and I don't want to skip past that. You talked about, like, you doing your business also helps you with mental stability. Would you like to touch base on that?
Yeah. So being somebody that suffers with depression and anxiety, a lot of times, especially in the last couple of months, I feel like if I don't have a lot of stuff on my plate, then I feel like I'm not doing enough. And when I feel like I'm not doing enough, then my depression kind of takes over, and I'm sad. I don't want to get out the bed. I don't want to be productive. But when I have a lot of things going on, like right now, I started a business. So I have a business that, I from my home. I also have 3 kids, and I'm a full-time student. So with that can bring a lot of anxiety. But like I was saying, when my husband comes home and he's like, hey, I got the kids, go do your thing. I come in this room and I open my windows, I put my mask on, I get my music blaring. And when I start creating, it just feels like bliss a little bit, like I come in here and nobody's telling me what to do. I'm not asking for any advice. I'm not, reading instructions. Like, I'm just going, I'm doing, I'm feeling, like I might make something just off of a song that I'm listening to. And I just decide to make something. Those are the things that just make me feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what, the universe has led me to, because it knew that I needed to be doing this. I needed to be able to release all of these ideas in my head, all these thoughts, these colors, these shapes, like so many things. And, at one point I was prescribed medicine for my anxiety. And I swear it feels like a switch just like flicked for me when I'm in here doing this. Like, nothing is making me sad. Nothing can take away the feeling that I get when I demold a product that I just made and it's cured overnight. And I take it out of the mold and it's like perfect. It's like, oh, I could cry, like it's perfect. And it just makes me feel like, damn, like it was so it was worth it. Everything that
Yeah.
I'm doing, everything that I did, like I took my time. I didn't rush it. I was very meticulous about it. And look at this perfect product that I made.
Right.
Like you can't get that anywhere else. Like I
Mhm.
made that.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
refreshing.
yeah.
It clears my mind.
Yeah, no, that's what's up. And I think that's important that, we all take a moment and understand that, right? There's a bunch of people out there probably watching this channel or in the future that will watch this channel that also struggle with some type of mental ailments. And like, don't be afraid to ask for help when you need help, right? I think some of the most strongest things you can do is to speak up, right? I'm gonna go ahead and drop some, phone numbers, websites and stuff for anybody out there that's dealing with some type of issues that haven't been taken care of. Please make sure you call, get some help on that. Now,
Yes.
another thing I
For
want to
sure.
ask you is opportunities, right? Because as an entrepreneur, like, yeah, you started this stuff, you're doing it on your own, but has there been any opportunities that presented itself that you feel like you weren't ready for, but you had to make yourself ready for?
Yes, definitely. First starting the business, when my friend called me and Courtney was like, hey, I'm about to start this business and I want you to do my resin. I know you can do it. I want to work with you. And I think that this will be a great thing. That conversation literally was all it took. I'm talking about like within a week, I had all my products. I'm purchasing, a business and I'm getting started. Like that was all I need. I tell Courtney all the time that she motivates me and she is a huge inspiration to a lot of things that I do. And that conversation was literally all it took. Like that was all it took for me. And I was on go after that.
Yeah.
I was on go. But working with people and doing things means a lot to me. So when she said she wanted to work with me, that was just like super dope.
Yeah.
I also had an opportunity where somebody contacted me to be a grinder wholesaler. So for anybody who, don't or any type of herbs like that, grinders are things that they use to grind. You can grind herbs, you can grind, you can grind a lot of things. She owns a lash business actually. And her logo, she markets with her lashes. Super dope, super dope. And she wanted me to be her lash wholesaler. And I was like, you mean like you want to buy a lot of of grinders for me? And she's like, yes, I need a lash wholesaler to be, to put my put my logo on some. And I'm like, okay, let's try and do like a test or something.
Yeah.
Cause in my mind, I'm thinking like, man, like it takes me 30 minutes just to pour grinders. Like having to get all the way down, like, grinders are spiky at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes to make sure that the resin reaches all the parts in the grinder so that there's no holes when it cures. So it's very complicated, very complicated. I can't even just pour it. I have to pour some, maneuver it around, get the bubbles out, and then pour a little bit more. It's very complicated, very time consuming. And I know that it takes me at least 30, 45 minutes just to pour one. And so I'm just like, somebody's looking to purchase multiple from me. That means that's a lot of work. That's a lot of, and there's so much room for error. It was very scary, but I was like, you know what? I'm a Roger up to it. And she had the confidence enough to ask me. She thought that I could do it. So I'm going to have the confidence enough to put my foot out there and step up to the plate and get it done. Yeah. Now, if she doesn't like, what I have to offer, then it's no harm, no foul. I still appreciate the opportunity, but the fact that you thought that I could do it is enough for me. That's what I need to get started, to get it going.
Yeah. Now, I also want to ask you, right, because you talk about, somebody reaching out to you to be a wholesaler and all like the time that it takes to do this stuff. Like, can new customers that are watching this video right now, they want to come to you, are they able to say, hey, Miss Aaliyah, like, I want a customized piece? And if so, how are they able to do that?
So my website, which you can find at giftsfromadove.com, a lot of the pieces on there are already kind of pre-made in a sense. I have styles or, you know, whatever designs that I chose. If you want that product and you don't like the colors, or you want different wording or a picture, you can purchase the product still and leave me a comment in the checkout on the website. Or you can go to my email. You can send me an email and we can coordinate through there. My email is giftsfromadove@gmail.com. I also have a Facebook page and an Instagram, and I'll accept, you know, whatever DMs, messages. I always read them right away and respond as fast as I can. I'm pretty quick with that. But as long as I have a mold for it, even if I don't, you know, we can talk about it. If it's something that I feel like I'll be able to sell frequently, I'll purchase new molds. I'll, you know, purchase new things that I'm willing to get started on. So if you see something on my website that you're like, oh, I like that, but I just don't like I don't like the color scheme, you know, maybe I want a little bit of marble or whatever it is that you may like, I'll definitely give it a try, you know, and see if we can work something out.
Yeah, so listen, folks, there you have it from the queen herself. Listen, like, I'm gonna go ahead and drop all contact information in the description link below. Please make sure you take the time to go check that out, right? I'm telling you, like I said earlier in the video, like, you are definitely missing out if you do not come to this woman's website. You are definitely missing out. Like, me sitting here telling you does no justice. Like, we've ordered stuff from her. She talked about the shot glasses, like straight up, they in our kitchen right now. Like when we host events, like shot glasses come out, you understand? Like, and this is where they come from, right? So like, my wife is really big on also like what you're talking about with supporting friends, right? That do business, right? Because what good is it for us to step out and then leave everybody else behind? And then when they want to go do something, we don't show no love, we don't show no support. But even bigger than that, like, her stuff is dope. I'm telling you, like, I challenge you. I challenge you to go check it out on our website. And again, as always, I appreciate you guys for taking the time to stop by and check us out over here at Table of Entrepreneurs. Mr. Leah, thank you so much for taking your time to allow me to do this interview with you. And as always,
thank you for having me.
Next time.